In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today.
Hi, welcome to Materialise, the Launch Tabletop podcast. Today we are... Sorry, I mugged it up again, everyone. Mugged it up again. Hey, one day in the future I'll get it right. Welcome to Materialise, the Launch Tabletop podcast, where we talk about turning game ideas into tangible objects. Today is the 6th of January, 2023. I know, wild. And this is episode 9. This week's topic is Matt of all trades, making board games almost by yourself. And would it be a Materialise episode without some kind of technical glitch as well happening? So I don't know what went on with the intro music there. Good times. One day we'll figure this complicated machinery out. Hi everybody. So I'm talking to the audience right now. Welcome to the episode. And with me today is Kate. Hi, Kate.
Hello.
How was your Christmas and New Year?
It was very quiet and involved some French champagne, so...
fancy. Because it's
bit
only champagne if it comes from France.
Right? It's only champagne if it comes from France, otherwise it's just sparkling bourgeoisie.
Sparkling whatever, yeah. Wonderful. Well, that's good to hear. And this week's special guest, we have Matthew Aslin. Hi, Matthew.
Hi, everyone.
Did I even pronounce your surname correct? I don't think I've actually asked you how to pronounce your surname before.
My surname, Aslin.
It is Aslin, yeah. Sort of like
the
the lion from... Yeah. We're both on the same wavelength.
Only famous thing anyone actually even knows.
And I see you're working on a main as well, so you're kind of, trying to get there. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful main, but could be bigger.
Trust me, it's going to get bigger.
It's going to get bigger. So Matthew is the founder of Platypus Industries. Actually, I said the founder, and I should have clarified in the pre-roll thing. Are you the only founder of Platypus Industries, or co-founder?
There's no one else.
Wonderful. Well, not wonderful, but I'm glad I got my facts right. So Matthew is the founder of Platypus Industries and the designer of the Ratcatcher, a solo adventure game, as well as Drop Bears, a cooperative survival game for wonderful players. And I have no idea. You've probably designed other games too, but those are the two that I'm aware of.
No, those are the two that are probably been out and about. There's more coming. Never stops.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, thanks for joining us today. It's really great to have you on.
My pleasure.
How was your Christmas and New Year?
Filled with family and food. So it's a win after that, isn't it?
Yeah, lovely. That's ideal.
I think I'm still full.
Was there cheese? Cheese seems to be very integral to the Australian Christmas experience.
Oh no, we have a traditional potato salad. That's a must have.
Oh. Yeah.
And ripple cake.
Cheese.
Oh, ripple cake. That's a classic.
Cheese.
We have a ripple cake that's now passed down generations of learning.
Like a recipe. It's like grandma's and now.
Yep.
Oh, so it's not just the one that uses those chocolate biscuits.
Yeah, it's just that one,
with
but
the cream.
Fancier every time, right?
It's
gonna be a French delicacy soon.
I thought I saw someone invent a new Christmas food, and it seems very Australian this year. It's called the Scramington.
What? What is
Scramington? There's a cake decorator called what's her name? Usually I know it, and now I can't think what her name is. Anyway,
okay.
she's hilarious. She's fantastic. She starts every little clip that she does with okie dokie artichoke or something that rhymes with okie dokie. Okie dokie, hokey pokey sometimes.
It's not Claire Saffis.
No, it's not. No,
okay.
She's an Aussie. I think.
Oh, an Aussie. Okay,
she's a Queenslander. Not sure. But she had to do something for school, and she came up with this thing that she has called the Scramington, and it's, you can't spend any time baking at home, so you go and buy like 6 lamingtons, and you buy the pre-made Swiss roll, like the sponge rolled up with the jam inside, and you chop them up and you arrange them in like a circle, and you glue them together with whipped cream, and then you strawberries and whatever you fancy on top, and chocolate sauce and bit of this and and she calls it a Scramington. And I was like,
wow.
And then I saw it and I went, would eat.
Yep.
Amazing.
Have to try that
it's not Anne Reardon, is it? Is that
No,
Anne Reardon?
no.
Have you seen Anne Reardon's? She does a lot of debunking of like the
Mm,
TikTok and like
mm,
Instagram, like, you know, fast food,
yeah.
like fast as in people making food quickly or using hacks and stuff.
I'm gonna have to
I've
go
learnt
and
a lot.
see who this woman is now because
It's gonna bug
Every
you
one
for
of
the
those
rest.
things to keep you
it
up
is
till
gonna
7 in the morning,
bug
you know.
me.
So while you're doing that, I will move on to the next section of our show, which is the launch table tip. Each week we try and give a piece of advice that will help people with making games, hopefully something practical and useful. Today's tip, each of us is going to give us something to do with working with freelancers. So Matthew, do you have a tip for our listeners about working with freelancers?
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like, hang on, before you do, it looks like Kate's got the answer to that person. Let's get Kate's answer quick.
Okay.
Tigger Mac, TIGGA_MAC.
Okay.
She's great. She does beautiful things, but she came up with this Scramington. Anyway, back to freelancers. Tips for
So
freelancers,
Matthew,
with
what
freelancers.
is your tip for working with freelancers?
Mine would be doing your research and shopping around. Don't ever sit there and go, there's only one out there. Shop around, get lots of different prices, lots of different styles and things like that. And have conversations with them, like build that little bit of rapport, get some tests out of them, whether it's some writing and editing or some sketches and art and things before you make any decisions, and even run a few side by side. Like I found when I got down to 2 artists was running them side by side doing things, and I could see how long it took. I could see what the price variance, what I was getting, and it was really good to finally make that decision with all that information. And with all my freelancers, it's definitely paid off. I still work with every single one of them, and they've been fantastic. So
I think it was either Kate, you, or Alan or Shannon, one of the people from the last episode. It wasn't me. Somebody who said that looking through like ArtStation and stuff, it might have been Alan, when you're seeing people's like portfolios of their work, oftentimes they don't say how long it took them to do the piece. And so it might look amazing, but it might have taken them 40, 50, 60, 100 hours to do, and you might not have a budget that can pay for that. So it's that what you said. Yeah, so when you, just to kind of give some clarity, do you kind of make a short list of the freelancers you're thinking of, and then like get them to do these little projects and like pay them for like an hour or whatever to kind of do that? Or do you just focus on one person, see how they go, and then if that doesn't work out, move on to somebody else?
No, I'll generally have a short list and work with as many of those as possible. Sometimes it is just an email back and forth or a quick video call or something like that to just have a chat. And it'd be amazing how quickly you can discern how good a connection or timelines are going to work. And sometimes, it may be that person's perfect, that price is perfect, but they're not available for 8 months.
Yeah.
That's useless anyway. And that quick conversation can put those things in line and really quickly give you an idea.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Kate, do you have a tip?
Mine kind of feeds on from the whole not available for 8 months. Freelancers, every single piece of work that they do is earning them money. You have to be very respectful of their time, and don't expect them to do a piece on spec for you at no cost. That's disrespectful, and it's no freelancer, unless they're incredibly desperate, is going to go, yeah, sure. Expect to pony up the dollars for a piece. If you treat them seriously, they will take you seriously, and they deserve to be paid for the work that they do. Even if the piece that they do, it turns out that it's not going to work, they still spent time on your thing. And once that piece is done, you can't continue asking for changes. Oh, just change that. Oh, just change that. Oh, just change this. They budgeted a particular amount of time, and if you waste, because you are literally wasting their time, if you try to micromanage that kind of thing, it's not going to be a good relationship. So be very respectful of their time.
What do you that? Yeah, I think that's really wonderful advice. Yeah. What do you do in a situation where maybe the result isn't what you want, like it hasn't worked out as you'd planned? Do you
mean it's totally wrong? Totally wrong,
like
or
you just can't make it?
About 90%. You just need a bit more. If it needs a bit more,
answer however you want.
Okay, well, if it needed a bit more, I'd say, look, I think it needs a little bit more work. Can we put a few more hours in at your hourly rate? Because you're saying, I value your work and I value your time, and I want to really make this work. And if they're too busy, then you might just have to But if they're the person who does the art and it's for your project, then that's going to be 3 hours that is definitely worth paying for. If you get to the end of the piece and they're not right, that's still money well spent. You know, you've got to put something into, is this the right person? And spending, you know, a couple of $100 on an art piece, that's honestly, that's a decent investment. And that's kind of the cost of doing business.
Joining us. Yeah, sorry, I just got distracted because we may have Alan joining us in his well, if he joins in, we'll say hi and chat to him. But yeah, the thing also I think ties into maybe what was also said in the previous episode, where when you're hiring the person to help avoid some of those disappointments, is get them to do some sketches or really have a good conversation with them about what is expected, and then they can also tell you what they're going to offer to do, and I think that helps avoid some of the pitfalls. And yeah, the other, so this all then ties into my tip really, which is to set clear expectations about what you and the freelancer are both expecting, both from you and from them, and including milestones for the delivery of work. So like when, okay, we want preliminary sketches by this date, and we want maybe some mocked up stuff by this time, or whatever it is. And it might not be an illustrator, you might be working it with a different freelancer doing a different task, but set some kind of milestones. Not just say, oh, we want it all ready by launch date on this time. Like actually set some early ones up.
It's very tempting to do that system too. The just it needs to be ready by Friday rather than going little stepping stones. I think stepping stones are definitely a much better way of working with any type of freelancer.
Because it also allows you, it gives you the ability to adjust. It's it's like the traditional waterfall method of projects. You get to the end and you go, oh, that wasn't what we're looking for, versus the agile where you're constantly reassessing as you go.
Yeah, and I think it prevents a lot of the stuff you're talking about before, where you get to the end of the project and you go, oh, I don't like that. If you've got step one, you can make changes.
I worked as a freelancer for Alan, actually, for Alan and Alana for Rule and Make. This is back in around late 2016, early 2017, and they had a game design commission that they had a client who was wanting a custom game design, and so they hired me as the game designer to do it as a work for hire project. And one of the things that was really helpful was Alan laid out, okay, by this date, we want you to have done roughly this many hours and have the game to this level of readiness, and whatever. And the thing was, it wasn't just deadlines, that was also when I got paid. So I basically got, like, when I met a milestone, I put my invoice in and they would pay me. And so in that way, let's say the project went haywire, we all hated each other and it fell apart, which didn't happen, but let's say it did happen, or something happened and they were just like, look, this isn't, like, they might have gone, this isn't working out as we want, we're going to try someone else. By having the milestone and by getting paid at the milestone, it was fine. We could have both walked away and no one was wasting each other's time. It was all part of the process. And and actually, that game never got made in the end, because after I delivered my project and it was all I got paid properly and it was all good. But then, six months later, the client pulled out and the whole thing fell apart. So I mean, I got paid though, so I don't mind.
It's really nice to see the fruit tree and actually get the fruit off it rather than.
Yeah, but I mean, the reality is a lot of projects get started and for heaps of reasons can't get finished, and that's just a fact of.
There's so many barriers. It doesn't take much to derail it.
So I'll just finish off my tip, if that's okay. Oh, sorry, Kate, you're going to say something?
I was just going to say, so everything we're talking about, it's all clarity and communication, and
and that's exactly what that was the rest of my point. So sorry, Matt, you were talking.
No, I can send through. I've got my art documents I sent through to my artist. If you want to use those as samples somewhere, it's a really.
You mean like your briefing document?
Yeah, it's really comprehensive, and you can see the result.
Maybe what I'll get you to do is at the end of the episode, I'll get you to put it as a comment on the YouTube video or something, so that people can just go there and have a look at it. So the rest of to finish off my thing, set the expectations with the milestones, but also included in the expectations is, how are you going to communicate with each other? Is it going to be a phone call like once a week or once a fortnight? Is it going to be email? Is it going to be messages through Facebook Messenger? What is the way that you're communicating? And so that way you both both know, okay, if they get a message through this channel, I need to take it I need to take it seriously, and when to expect. How payment's going to be handled. So again, like how are you and how you're going to pay the freelancer, or if you're the freelancer, how are they going to pay you? That was another thing I actually learnt from Alan and Alana, ironically, was I originally was sending them invoices with like 30-day or more, might have been 60-day kind of like terms to say, please pay me, because I had no idea. I was like, really, I was fairly new to it and all. And then one of them said to me, just make it like a 7-day or a 5-day term, because we plan on paying you quickly, and that means that then you can live off the money, like you actually can get paid for your work and buy groceries. And so and so it was really important. So now I basically try and put that in, and if a client says I can't do 5 or 7 days, then we talk about it and we work it out. But but at least it's changed my parameters for that. And then also include into your discussion, obviously, the actual amount that's being paid to the freelancer. So make sure everyone's clear, like what are the rates?
Is it a set amount for this piece, or is it per hour for a particular number of hours?
I've had some clients who I've got one game design client right now, and the project's a bit of a weird one, and I can't talk about it because it's under confidentiality. But they wanted to. Don't worry. They wanted to put me on a retainer, so they basically have prepaid me a set amount of money that we agreed on, and then when work begins, I'll just be basically ticking off hours to
chipping away at the hours
for what they've prepaid, and then when that's done, we renegotiate and go, okay, are you happy with where we're at? Do you want to pay for another block of time? But it was their request to pay me in advance, because they wanted to have it all so they knew it was done. And I know a number of creators and artists who will say, oh, I'll take on the project, but I need 20% down payment or 10% down payment at the start, or whatever.
And it's very common dealing with artists to have, when you book me, I'll take a deposit, thanks.
Yeah.
And especially because, unfortunately, the truth is that they get jerked around a lot, and people do drop them and don't communicate. I mean, I've done graphic design work for customers. Unfortunately, it's usually friends of friends who they just never pay me. They ghost me, and I send them emails, messages, and never get paid, and it's just frustrating. So, the down payment thing is important. Okay, I think that's all my tips.
You got
hello, people. We've got a guest.
Sorry, I've got my faithful assistant.
No worries.
Your assistant making sure Dad's working.
Oh yeah, making sure Dad's not working. You should.
So before we before we move on to the main interview, we'll just have a quick word about Launch Lab, which is the print-on-demand game manufacturing service from Launch Tabletop. So, Kate,
shall we roll the tape?
Roll the tape for that one. Launch Lab is our small batch print-on-demand service for tabletop games. Whether you want just 1 or 1,000, we have you covered. Select from our library of components to build your next game. We offer high-quality printing and components at a competitive price with fast production time, shipped to almost anywhere in the world. Go to launchtabletop.com to sign up for a free account and start prototyping now. Use the coupon code Materialise, that's MATERIALISE, at checkout to get 20% discount off your next order before shipping. Thank you, younger Eris, for that video recording. That was wonderful, very helpful. But yeah, so if you are interested in checking out Launch Lab, totally free to sign up and try the system out. I'm gonna mute you, Matt.
Sorry, guys.
No, that's okay. So basically, if you do want to check out Launch Lab, it's all free to completely sign up and try the system and put your project in. And then if you are wanting to get something printed, use the code Materialise and you'll get 20% off before shipping. All right. Can we unmute Matt is the question.
Give him a couple minutes.
I'll give him a couple minutes.
Kids.
So for those playing at home, Alan might be joining us, but he may not be. He's having some work. He's got his work happening on his house still, and his power is being turn on and off while work's being done. So we will see if he joins us. Looks like Matthew's back. Are you back, Matthew?
Oh. Semi back. They're still screaming.
It's all good.
Sometimes it's not the children.
No, it can be challenging.
We've
people.
had pets on the show before, but that's the first time for
We've
children.
got those as well. It's like a zoo
Yeah.
here.
They say never to work with children or animals, and you really screwed up.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the advices on the earlier episodes, I guess, that I missed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll move into the main interview. So my introduction is Matthew and I have been friends for years now. If I remember meeting you, Matthew, at a playtesting event in 2014, which we were both discussing just before recording, blows our mind. That's 9.5 years ago was the event roughly. Because I think it was the later half of 2014. And it was the first event I'd ever been to as a game designer and a first playtesting event. I don't recall the game that you had there, but I do remember you had a design partner at the time who was also called Matthew. So it was Matt and Matt, I remember you were.
Always more Matt.
And more Matts. And you were both dreaming up or talking about this game that had minis, and I'm there thinking, that is so, like, part of me was a mixture of in awe and, like, skeptical, because I'm just like, making minis is, like, so hard. And now we are 9 years later, and you have just funded on Kickstarter, and I don't know when it's due to come out, a game with minis. Oh, look at that. Not just minis, like, what do you call big minis? Gigantes?
This one's one of the...
Bigatures.
We do samples.
Yeah, bigatures.
Everything, yeah. This thing's huge, yeah.
That is massive. So what is that? That's not how big it will be in the game?
No, he's quite sizable. I've got him here. This is him. That's his proper.
Wow, that is sizable. Boy. Yeah, so look at you go. So this is from the game Drop Bears that you've just had fund recently. And
about to start manufacturing.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, so congratulations. But for me, it was just a funny little, like, anecdote or remembering, like, that the first time I met you, you're talking about miniatures and the game with miniatures, and I'm just thinking, you'll never be able to pull it off.
Crazy.
Like, it's like, that's just too ridiculous. Like, you know, and especially because, like, in Australia and going back roughly 10 years, we just felt so far from, like, everyone, like, all the factories and all the, like, every option. So well done. Congratulations. Now, looking through the rule book for the other game that you made, this came out in 2020 called the Ratcatcher, which is a solo game. So solo meaning one person. I noticed in the rule book here, Matt, that you are credited as the game designer, the game developer, the illustrator, and the graphic designer.
Yep.
That's a lot of hats. And then you have got some people who helped you out with the writing and the 3D modeling of some elements.
Yeah, thankfully.
But yeah, so that's like, so this is like, we talked with Shannon last week about, you know, being a solo publisher and wearing many hats and doing a lot of the work. You seem to be doing slightly more than he does on his stuff. So it's, you know, I think I know you and Shannon are friends, but yeah. So what made you go down that path? Like, why did you choose to kind of take on all those different roles and not outsource parts of them?
I think it starts with what you were talking about before. The Australian industry is not something we've got that many options, and trying to keep the costs down for the project and things as your first project is a really big deal. It's all out of your pocket as you invest everything and risk everything. And who knew? I was very, very fortunate that solo games were the bee's knees at the time, and I'm one of the few games that benefited from the COVID lockdown situations.
Because you had obviously been working on the game well before 2020.
Well and truly. Ratcatcher is quite an old project in regards to that.
I remember, and I can't remember if it was Drop Bears or Ratcatcher, I remember playing at an incubator playtesting event, one of them, but when it was like a super early pen and paper, like on a, you know, like just written on cardboard hexagons or something. Might have been Drop Bears. And I remember playing something. Yeah, and it's funny how, like, stuff that you, when you're part of these communities with playtesting, stuff that you see in their really embryonic early stage, and then to see them actually become real products later on is just amazing and wonderful.
Oh, it's quite a magical process when you get to see it from afar and see the big timeline jumps. But yeah, being part of it, doing it every day is a little bit trickier.
So had you already, with the Ratcatcher, were you already gearing up to release that in 2020, or did you accelerate that in terms of your priorities when the pandemic started?
No, it was geared up. I wouldn't change timelines for things like that. I think you're going to lose more than you gain out of rushing a project. I'm very closely linked with it, of course, doing all the art and everything like that. there's some things I just can't rush more. There's no more time in a week that I can allot for anything. So yeah, definitely wouldn't accelerate it for anything in particular. Same with any of the projects that I'm working on. I'm working on another solo game at the moment, so no more accelerating.
When did the Ratcatcher go to Kickstarter?
That's a good question.
Because I know it
I feel like maybe it was 2019.
Yeah, I think it was 2019.
Okay, so that was actually it was really just so it must have just been shipped in 2020. Like yeah, that is such great timing for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt bad because there's a rat in the game that's Patient Zero, and he'd been of course he'd been designed well and truly well before anything like that. It was more a Black Plague thing, and then this guy comes up and like, oh man, that's a little bit intense.
So when it was shipping in 2020, which was of course when shipping started going, were you fortunate enough to be
just before it? Literally,
the bum fell out of shipping.
We booked containers and everything. I think it would be less than a month or so before prices skyrocketed. We even got a message from them going, hey, we're going to renegotiate the price. And we're like, no. We are locked in. You ain't changing nothing.
You are not changing.
Yeah, wow.
Oh, that's great.
So lucky we had the manufacturer help us a lot with that sort of stuff because they said a lot of people are trying, the freight companies are being really cheeky and just going, hey, get rid of all the old contracts and stuff. And they went, no, trust me, we'll get this sorted. So
yeah,
it's good.
That's great.
Although shipping is normalizing. Sorry, I was going to say shipping is normalizing now, but
finally.
I hope it does because I saw someone in one of the game publishing groups share some quotes that they'd got in and the shipping and I showed Kate and Kate said that's back to close to pre-COVID kind of prices because Kate has like so much more experience doing that than me. I've done it for like 2 games. But the what I'm wondering is, and this is the cynical part of me, how much of that will get passed on to customers? Like, as in, I wonder, this is totally not in the main topic of our video, but I just wonder now that like potentially customers are used to paying some higher prices, I wonder if the reduced shipping costs will bring prices down. Yeah, they'll
come through. It's too competitive. Like, there is so many companies competing for that space that they will go rock bottom.
I think Eris might be talking about in terms of getting onto the shelf, like at the supermarket or the department store.
Whether we're going to keep it on prices.
Because, everyone went, but shipping is so expensive. We need to put our prices up. And now that prices have come down, they're like,
and I don't
love our profits.
And I'm not like,
probably not.
But the thing is, I'm torn because like, I know that certainly with like your regular game publishers, so like you're not massive, like the bulk of the people making games who are smaller companies. Like, I know that everything's so tight already that even if they do gain something now by the shipping coming down, they're still, like, I'm okay with them, trying to make a living from it. I think it is just, it did make me think about the broader world in terms of like, other items that have been, the price has gone up over the last 2 years.
I should clarify, I was talking about not game things. I was thinking about clothes and those sorts of things as opposed to our industry where the profit margins are teeny weeny. Nobody's driving around in a Lambo like James.
Well, there is that one. There is the 1%, but
no one's driving around in a Lambo except maybe the CEO of Asmodee. I have no idea. But
I remember. So this might be. I don't think he still. I don't think he still works in the industry, but the person who was the owner of Mayfair Games, I know, did have a sports car at one point because they had Catan and all that stuff before it all got sold to Asmodee. So I think he was living the life a little bit and fine, whatever. But yeah, definitely an outlier, not the norm. No. All right, so Matt, there is a whole bunch of questions. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions which were similar to ones that we asked Shannon last week, and because you're both doing a similar kind of thing in terms of doing most of the stuff yourself with making a game. Is there something you wish you'd known before you started, like something you know now about publishing and designing games that you wish you'd known before you started?
I guess it's managing timelines a little bit better, especially being the one who does all the hats. Managing my timelines has been something I've had to learn lots and lots and lots. It's a definite skill that I think I definitely put by the wayside and didn't think much of it, as you could do a to-do list and just pondered from that. But no, it's got to be far more well structured than that.
It's so easy for one thing to slip, and then it pushes everything ahead of it or after it back further, and then this other thing slips that you didn't realize had an impact on those things, and it all gets pushed again.
I find
So
that's usually me. If when I get sick or when I've got time with the family unexpectedly to take priority, my timelines grind to a halt because there's just no one else to keep pushing it. So building in a little bit of extra time in my timelines and having things so they are flexible, or having things that I can try and automate whenever possible, push out to others, is something I'm definitely learning lots and lots about. And I could definitely think I've got a long way to go with that one as well.
Do you use any kind of project management tools or software or anything? You don't have to mention what one if you do, but just in general, do you use
I'm actually trying to learn a few at the moment, seeing which one suits my way of working. I haven't found anything that I'm really sticking to just yet.
Yeah. It's something
If
I
anyone's
struggle
got
with,
good
so
tips
I'm
for it,
terrible.
I am up for that.
I don't. I've got no. Similar to you, I've had stuff. Yeah.
Tell you what we use at Launch Tabletop. We use ClickUp at Launch Tabletop. At Skybound, when I was there, we were using Monday.com. They have similar functions. They're quite different. I think they're both a subscription model, but that kind of thing I think is really useful if you have lots of different people on your team and you need to be able to say, so-and-so you're doing that, and person X you're doing that. And then when you're done, you need to send it to that person. But when it's just one person, I think you can probably get away with using something a little more lo-fi, like a carefully formatted spreadsheet, as long as you don't, accidentally click on something and delete half of your stuff. But you can do things like have cascading dates.
Are we, Kate?
Google Sheets was advertising to me the other day that they've now added in some kind of what do you call those things where they're the little graphy things for timelines, Nat charts or whatever?
Gantt charts.
Gantt charts. It's something like that they've implemented now in, so you can have like different timeline stuff.
Yeah, this thing depends on that finishing, and that's getting pushed out. So everything goes.
So it looks like they're building some of that in, and I'm sure Excel has probably already had it for ages because they're obviously a bit more mature as a product. All right, so. I think we've already answered this question, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you outsource any parts of your business?
I
guess
now.
you do because you hire freelancers.
Yeah, I hire freelancers. With Ratcatcher, I didn't get much of a choice with it, but with Drop Bears, I've brought in a few different people. So we've got a miniature sculptor, illustrator to support. I have a full-time editor now, thankfully, because my editing skills are extremely poor. I've got accountant, all that sort of stuff.
Everybody should have an accountant.
Oh, hell yeah. They are probably one of the most key parts of making sure my creative brain doesn't go off the tangent.
Yeah. But especially when you're dealing with, foreign income for things like Kickstarter. Yeah. Accountants going, if you have this come in here and you don't outlay until there, you're going to get tax implications. And
oh, hell yeah. And you'd be amazed. Whatever you're paying your accountant, you will save in the long run for all the other stuff.
Absolutely.
So you never lose. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, wow.
The boring bits.
So that ties into a question. It's like, do you have any kind of schedule or plan about how you manage the creative part of, designing games and developing games versus the business part of like doing all that admin stuff and paperwork and legal stuff and whatever?
I try to dedicate certain periods of the week for it. This year is going to be a new reformat of that idea, and there'll be dedicated time for illustration. There'll be dedicated time to manage the business and do the paperwork and answer emails and follow up bits and pieces, because I send stock out from here as well, so organizing all that as well and shipping out. But I think the biggest thing I really need to spend more time doing is development of future product. It's, I think, one of the easiest ones to put on the shelf with all the stuff that's going on now. You really need to be constantly working on that stuff in the future, which is where I was a bit concerned that was falling too far behind, and I'm really wanting to get back on the horse and keep designing the next titles and trying to forecast problems and try and solve them a bit before they come right at me.
I'm just going to flag my network connection is terrible, so if I drop out, it's not deliberate.
That's all right. We'll just keep talking about you. It's fine.
Yeah.
I just literally I just got a warning from the thing saying, "Hey, your connection's really bad." So,
all good.
So, Matt, one thing that I know you've mentioned to me, and what you mentioned to both Kate and I earlier, that you feel isn't necessarily maybe talked about enough or could be talked about more, is how to look at games as a product, not just as a kind of creative thing. And do you want to talk about that and how that's framed your approach to, making games?
Yeah, I guess a good game can be as good as it likes. If it never gets played, it's not a game at all. So I always get a bit disappointed when you see a game come out from other designers that you might be close to and that they are underdeveloped as a product. So they've got a boring box. They don't have all the cool table presence of, some nice tokens or something that really sells it as something. If you walk past it at a con or at a gaming store on the table getting played, you're like, whoa, what's that? And stop and look at it. I feel that gets put by the wayside as trying to save a few pennies here and there and maybe not have to put some more hours into, designing those extra little bits. But I think if those things are there, your game will get in front of more people, and then it will be a good game because people are playing it.
Yeah,
and
shelf appeal is so important.
Shelf appeal and table appeal. I think those two things are so underdone, and you can see the companies that do it right are the ones that are making bank on Kickstarter, or they're the ones that you will always notice when you walk into a gaming store on the shelf. Like, I see that all the time.
Luminous, and they grab your attention.
Because that art is designed to catch your attention. That box layout is designed for you to pick it up and learn about the game and want to take it home at the end of reading the back of it.
What do you think is responsible for people not turning their game into a product that goes, hey, look at me, buy me, play me? Is it they don't appreciate how important it is? Is it they're overestimating their own skills? Is it they're not looking at the market and going, what are these things missing? What are these things that move? What have they got that these don't?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of that last one, is understanding your competition in the marketplace as it is, or where it's going as well. The other one is understanding that it's not an artist, it's a graphic designer and a product designer that are all part of that. You need all three of those slots to be filled. You can have the prettiest artwork known to man. If the graphic design's been left behind, the art won't do its full work anyway. And as a product designer, making sure that it fits with manufacturing, that it's really a whole product so that nothing gets left out, that I'm really selling every square inch of the actual insides of that box. Every token counts. Every part of the insert is designed beautifully. The box size is just right to sell it at that price point.
I think sometimes, the people who really nail that stuff, then their game gets accused of being overproduced. It's ironic, isn't it? I mean,
yes,
get the things like, sorry, wrong side. This one.
Yep,
this is an amazing game. Inside that box is just ridiculously gorgeous stuff. I know because I put a lot of it there as the project manager.
I was blown away.
There's a lot of stuff in there. It's in there. And people sit and go, but it's so overproduced. And it's like, but it's a product that looks amazing and it plays really well.
And it is really
Why is this a problem?
Like, you open it up and you're like, wow, I can't believe this cost only this much. Or, even if I did spend $200 on a big box game, opening it up and feeling that satisfaction again, wow, this is all really, really cool. Rather than opening it up and feeling underwhelmed.
It is definitely a tension, though, because there are absolutely games where their table presence is better than the gameplay. Like, there's ones, there's ones that I've definitely played games where the illustrations or the the graphic design or whatever is wonderful, and then I'm personally really underwhelmed with the actual game itself.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's a dangerous
so I think
reverse
there is
as well,
kind of like a balancing act there to try and walk that line. And I think, unfortunately, with players and reviewers, all of us are biased in different ways, and some of us will. And I've seen this is something I've struggled with a lot as a game designer, is hearing game of friends of mine or game groups I've been a part of, and they're having to manage their budgets, they're having to manage their things, and so they'll be very kind of like, oh, this game is good, but it's not great, so I'm not going to buy it. Like, like they kind of have their way of justifying, what they
That's
buy
a
and stuff.
tricky
And
expectation to
it's
manage.
totally, and I get from their point of view, they can't afford to just buy everything that comes out, in a year, and so they're trying to manage it. But for me, it's frustrating because it's like, oh, I don't really truly, if I'm really honest, I don't believe most games are great. Like I think we all are trying to do the best we can, but I think this idea of a great game is very nebulous and personal. Like it's not going to be the same for everyone.
It's a very personal taste thing.
Yeah, and so for me, it's like it was something to try and work on my own attitude towards making games. But like, I think to tie this into what you were talking about, the thing that struck me though that I think is where I agree a lot of people fall down is not really understanding the connection with manufacturing and like the limits of manufacturing, how to try and get the best out of it, how to try and work with your manufacturer to try and go, what's their strengths, what can they do really well that you can take advantage of. You in our pre-chat you mentioned that you've got a really good relationship with your manufacturer and how important that is for you getting the results you want, and I think that's so true. And I mean, obviously, like Launch Tabletop, we're a manufacturer, and it's something that I know what the rest of the team, but for me, I know I'm aspiring to try and be the best that I can be when working with customers or working on stuff, and I think it's just like, I think though that thinking about the each piece in the game literally being important, and how do you and not just from a gameplay point of view, but from a cost point of view. Like I remember years ago hearing an interview or a podcast with Rob Davio on it. He's the designer of a number of legacy games, but he used to work at Hasbro before that, and he was saying that at Hasbro, because obviously they've got decades of experience and huge teams of like accountants and all that stuff, they would actually have, because of the relationships with their manufacturers, he could say, if I wanted to add a wooden piece to this or a dice or something, what will it cost? And they'll go, okay, well that will add 6 cents to the manufacturing cost, and he will already been told, well, we need the game to be no more than $5 to produce or whatever it is. Yeah, whatever it is. And so if you're adding 6 cents, it might mean, well, you've got to take 6 cents off somewhere. Like, there's a give and a take there with what you do. And I think that's something that as indie producers we forget, because we're kind of like, oh, I just want my game to have everything and be the best version of itself it can be, But it's like, oh, but then if it costs $50 to make, and that means you've got to charge whatever hundreds of dollars down the line, like, is that really practical?
If it's awesome,
is that sustainable? The answer is no, it's not. No. It's really not, unless it has the appearance of being worth that much, and it didn't actually cost you that much, and it's gorgeous.
I mean, there are
always exceptions, and there are always exceptions to the rule. Like I mean, Gloomhaven, in my mind, broke that rule, but it fit a niche really well and succeeded in that niche, So
Kingdom Death broke that rule.
Kingdom Death. I knew that, but Gloomhaven was the same though. Both of them were pretty up there. Kingdom Death was just. I think I learned about Kingdom Death from you, because I think years ago. Yeah, like that's got like tons of minis and stuff, doesn't it? Like that's a full on.
Insane. I think it retails for around $400 US, if I remember right. The core set.
Wow,
it's mental. I think it weighs just under 8 kilos. Yeah, and that was years before Frosthaven and Gloomhaven. That's insane.
Yeah. But again, finding your niches, like, I mean, as much as we've said, look after it, and they'll still be managing their costs too, of course. They're not.
Probably even more so because of the size of it.
Yeah, exactly. Because they've got to try and make every. I know I had a couple of CMON games. I had what was the Japanese themed one that Eric Lang designed? Rising Sun. Yeah, I loved that game, but then I played it so much that I actually got to a point where I was like, okay, I think I'm happy to pass it on, and I actually sold it, and someone in like Adelaide bought it. But like,
I mean, that's pretty awesome to get to that stage.
Yeah, I think I played it in 1 year or less than a year. I think I played it, I don't know, 10 or 15 times, maybe 20. But like, they were fairly long games. Like, for some reason, Yeah, and the groups, for some reason, every group I played with, we always went way longer than the box said, so I just used to think of it as, okay, it's actually bigger than, and we just never figured out how to play it in a short time. But I got to the point, and I still rate it as a really good game, but I got to the point where I was like, okay, I've played this now 10 or 15 or 20 times. I'm happy for somebody else to get enjoyment from it, because does have heaps of minis and it's got all this stuff, and so I was able to kind of sell it and pass it on. But like,
That's not a
anyway,
bad
to get back
attitude,
on the to get back, yeah, and it is. I mean, there's definitely games like a smaller game, I probably wouldn't actually feel the need to do that. But I think because it is such a big one and it has all those minis, and I know there's people that will paint them and cherish them and do whatever, and that wasn't what I was going to do. I just played the game. Yeah, but the thing about the fitting stuff into the box and the prices, I think, is a big deal, and I know that I'm going to sound like a shill, and that's okay. One thing I like about Launch Tabletop, but I also used to do it with other, like GameCrafter and Make Playing Cards and other companies as well.
Yep.
I actually will look at some of the offerings from these companies when I'm starting a game design, not like, because then I'll be like, oh, okay, if I make a game that has roughly this group of components, I know I can get it to retail for $30 or whatever, and so it's going to cost me what, and so then it helps me kind of design within a bit of a space. Now, it doesn't mean things can't change; they will, and variation will happen. But like, if I start the project going, okay, for this game, I'm going to focus on no more than 50 cards, no more than 2 dice or some wooden token, like punchboard tokens or whatever, then I think that can also, and it also means that then hopefully down the track when I am coming to manufacture the game, I'm not going to be too surprised by it's like, oh, this is now my game's going to cost triple what I thought it was going to cost. Will anyone even buy it? Like,
Yeah,
and then all that work is useless anyway if you can't release it. So.
Yeah. I mean, there is always a difference, of course, between the print-on-demand pricing and mass manufacturing pricing.
Yes, totally.
Economies of scale there.
Totally good point. And you got to be aware of that. But I think the principle still applies that, like, if you can, like, you may not need to have 50 meeples in your box if you can get away with 20 or 30.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, I think designing within the limitations is always a good design exercise anyway.
Yeah. People are much more innovative when you give them boundaries.
Yep.
And
hell yeah. I try and do it with my designs start out with a few limitations. I want to make a game in the box this size, or I'm going to make a game that's only solo or doesn't use dice or things like that. I feel like instantly as soon as you say, oh, you can't have this, your brain's like, okay, how do I get around that?
Yeah. People are really good at looking for.
Well, I've been working.
That was just me getting around the thing.
I've been working on a drafting game for quite a long time now. Technically, I started a version of it actually in 2014, so that's a long time. But I've got a version of it's been one of these game designs where I've had a core mechanic that I'm really happy with, but I've never found the right way to make it. I've had it grow into a big game with like tons of components and like a bigger thing, and I've had it as a really simple game with just 20 cards. But anyway, it's whatever. I'm at a stage now where the version that I think has potential, but I had an issue where I took it to a convention last year, about 6 months ago, and something that came out of it was because I originally had the scoring, which was just like effectively money, but I called it blessings. And the points were public, so you could just look across the table and see everyone's, like, you could know exactly what everyone's score was at any given time if you were willing to count it out, right? And during the playtesting, some people were like, "Oh, I think it would be better if like only like the money side of it was secret, but then the buildings that you're building are public, so you know that someone's score from their buildings, but you have no idea how much money they've actually got, and that might just help it because it's a fairly light game, so it might help people not get too bogged down trying to calculate everyone else's scores and stuff. So I was using player screens as my way to kind of like hide the people's money. And it wasn't till I came back, and it was only a couple of months ago where I remembered about the game Small World, and they've got their punchboard tokens, which are single-sided. So one side is the same for all the coins, and the other side is the value of the coin. And for me, that solves the problem immediately, because people then, I don't need to get player screens made. I'm already getting the coins made anyway because I needed them in the game. So this means I'm solving my problem of having hidden information, but I'm reducing the components. And I just think that's a win-win.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yep.
so, and you can't do it with everything, but for me, it was just like trying to look through, and part of how I came to that conclusion was A, remembering that game, but also B, then looking at, manufacturing and thinking, oh, okay, well, if I'm going to add in player screens, that's going to add in this cost, and I've got to fit the space in the box for
Do
them.
we
And
really need them? It's always the
yeah,
question.
like is there a way to solve the problem without that piece? And I think that's what you were saying about the limitations. And yeah, all right. So you've used Kickstarter successfully twice now, and I don't have the stats in front of me right now, but I believe quite successfully. You had something like 1,400 backers on Drop Bears, is that right, or something like that? No,
Yeah, I think something like that.
Yeah, I think that was from my memory.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll continue using crowdfunding in the future, or are you kind of going to move on and do something different?
I think it'll be a timeline thing. I'm still planning on the next game being a crowdfunding campaign. I think being in Australia, I think we're still struggling with that direct to retail option here. It's a little bit trickier to find those connections into the US market and things. But I am starting to make some headway in that. But I think still Game 3 will probably still be crowdfunded. Game 4 will be probably something I look at because it'll also be a repeat of one of our titles. So it's already going to have its own fan base and things like that. So maybe that might be a better option to take direct to retail.
We're gonna wrap up shortly, so we'll just do a couple more questions. Are you similar to probably? I think you just answered this question. You are partnering with people to get games into distribution. Like, are you partnering with distributors around the world, or are you sending everything out yourself?
I don't do all the distribution stuff, thankfully. No, I've got a licensing partner, and we've got now starting to work with regional partners. We're just excited with Galactica's just about to get their delivery of Polish Ratcatcher. So people like that we get to work with is very exciting.
So they did a localization, or did you have to?
Yeah, they did a localization. It's so strange seeing it localized.
Yeah, it would be.
I know how to play the game, but I can't read anything.
That's funny. Yeah, that's fantastic. Congratulations. That's really good. So so the partnering with distributors. Yeah, so the partnering with distributors is like I think, especially if your game you're trying to you have a bigger audience to sell to. Like, I think that is kind of critical, isn't it? To somehow.
I think if you're looking at doing it more than a hobby, if you're making that distinct, this is a business. It's going to pay for food on the table. It's essential. Like, there's no way that you could live direct sales.
Does Tim Fowler's, who did was it
Burgle Bros
back and the heist game Burgle Bros? I think from memory he was only only sold from his website. But he's definitely an outlier. He's not the norm. And this, I think a few like this is obviously going back about 5, 6, 7 years. But I think I remember reading an article or seeing an interview with him, and he just made that call for his business that he would rather figure out the distribution from like himself, and I don't know how he does it, and rather than going, and so he just sold everything direct from his website.
That's amazing.
The negative was that in Australia it was hard sometimes to get some of the stuff, and I found that some shops did stock his games, but they were obviously more expensive because they were just paying the regular kind of price and then putting their markup on. But it meant that you could actually get it. Like, I saw some of them in retail, but it was an interesting business plan. But I definitely think partnering with retailers is good. But like every business decision, you got to weigh your pros and your cons, right? Like, what are the costs? What is it saving me in kind of access to customers, but as well as like effort, and what am I paying for by taking that rigid, selling it to them? Yeah. Do you have? So just before we wrap up, I'll get. I'm going to set this up, Kate. I'm going to get you to ask Matt a question, and then Matt, if you have any final little piece of advice or thought that you want to share, if you could do that. So, Kate,
all right. So,
final question for.
Yeah, I do. So you've crowdfunded the 2 games so far, Ratcatcher and Drop Bears. Do you ever see a day when you don't crowdsource and you're able to just go, we're going straight to retail with this puppy?
It's a hard decision. It can be even just down to how the market's performing. Kickstarter is definitely not the platform it used to be, and I think there's a
Well,
myriad of reasons.
instead of Kickstarter, just think of crowdfunding.
Yeah, like any of the platforms, I think they're all the same at the moment. One, there's now the dilution with having multiple options rather than just having that one option that we had previously.
Everybody goes
but
there.
just the marketplace is a bit different now with crowdfunding. Definitely, even just between campaign 1 and campaign 2, we saw a very big difference in the attitudes that we had and the volumes and the traffic. And it was like they were just really different. And that was only a few years apart. So looking ahead to the next campaign, it's
Do you
hard.
think some of that might have been because the first game was a solo game, and that's a really different market to, hey, we've got a game that plays, 2 to 4 players?
Yeah,
I
always have solo components, so there's always that continuation between all my games. But yeah, it is. It was a different market as well. Solo and Ratcatcher came out was at a perfect time for solo games. They were really on the meteoric rise. It won one of its awards, so it had a little bit of backing and things like that. Where Drop Bears was really raw and from a one-time designer that came in. It was very regionally specific as well, so there was a few drawbacks for it.
Yeah.
But it was,
also, Drop Bears is a bit more kind of a intense theme, like a horror kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's it. It can be. Is it the game that's causing it more than the platform?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a maybe.
Matt,
I wouldn't mind going direct, but I also kind of enjoy the crowdfunding thing as well. I love the community side of it, and I have a great community of people, and a lot of them are so many good backers who have re-supported us again through the second campaign. I think I love spending the time with them, like a little bit beforehand and post. During the campaign, it's chaotic, a bit stressful.
Oh, yeah.
Lot of no sleeping nights and the stress through the roof as you see things going up and down, around and around. But yeah, that I think would be one of the things I'd think about before.
So how long were your campaigns? Remind me. With the first one
was 28 days.
Yeah, so it was the 4 month. Right.
Yeah, we did the 21 for Drop Bears. I'd almost,
one of the things,
as the trend going, reduce down. But I think as a first
which I think is
creating,
good. Yeah.
Yes, I think it's healthy. That's the other thing.
It's much healthier for the creator.
1, 2, maybe even 3 people. The hours you put into those days is absolutely mind-boggling, and that's after all the preamble. And the preamble is so much work now, and it's so important. And I think people forget that 3 months or so before, it's solid work.
Yeah,
and then
the game's so fun unless you do that
intense time, and then you've actually got to do the work and deliver the product. So
yeah.
All right. Well, was there one final bit of information that you wanted to share before we
I think Eris's connection's a little bit on the fritz. You are there now. You're back.
He's still with us.
He's still going.
I was just talking to robots is what I was doing.
Wasn't the first time.
All right. Well, do you have a final bit of information or like a piece of advice that you want to share with the audience before we wrap up?
I think becoming part of if you're looking at designing, definitely become part of the community. I think every designer will speak highly of their local designers and their local support people, and people who work with them even as freelancers. And you won't usually have trouble finding freelancers who love working on board games either.
So if people are looking,
become part of the community.
That's all right. Sorry, you go.
Become part of the community. Be interactive. Get out there, meet others. They will give you so much information, and key is support. Like it's a job. It's still hard work. You'll need those people to help you through some of the late nights and give you some of the ideas and give you connections. All those things they're worth more than anybody just laying money on you through crowdfunding.
Yeah. If people want to find you on the interwebs, where should they look?
Platypusindustries.com.au is the best way to find us. It's the source of everything.
Can people get copies of your games there?
Yeah, all the store will have everything. You'll be able to get it through a lot of local retailers as well. So don't ignore those poor fellows either.
Yep. Awesome.
And Drop Bears is coming May is still time at the moment. So
cool. And that's just about to head into production.
Yeah, literally just finishing up all the files for the first lot of sampling of the final look. It's very exciting.
Awesome.
All miniatures in my house.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Always
so, thank you for joining us, Matt. It's been wonderful having you on the show, despite all my connection issues and not necessarily listening and being able to hear everything. And as always, thank you so much, Kate, for being here and your co-hosting. Thank you to everyone who's joined us this week. If you have any questions, then please put them into our YouTube channel. If you want to propose any future topics or questions for a future show, then please join our Discord, which is at ltt.ltd/s/discord. You can also send us emails to support@Launch Tabletop if you have questions about what we do at Launch Tabletop or about the podcast or anything game related. We'd also, if you do watch this on YouTube, then really appreciate it if you could give the video a like, and if you could subscribe to the channel. That would really help us out. If you are following us on Facebook, then please just continue following us or get your friends to like our page. That also really helps. The other thing, we've got the checkout, the order, the thing up there for the code. So just remember that if you do want to try out Launch Lab, then use the code when you go to checkout, and you'll get 20% off before shipping. Materialise is produced by Launch Tabletop, so visit launchtabletop.com to find out more about Launch Lab and any other things that we've got going on. And you can sign up for a free account. We also technically sign up for a newsletter, but I don't think we've had a single newsletter go out as of yet. I don't know, is that true, Kate? Do we haven't had one? You might be muted. I think.
Sorry, I'm muted. I think I've sent one in the last year.
One. Yeah, but that's so you're not going to get spammed if you join our mailing list.
Definitely not going to get spammed.
But it would also.
I'm with you on that one.
So that's that link, that app.launchtabletop.com is how you get to Launch Lab and sign up. What else am I missing? Nothing. I'm Eris, and I've been your host, and this has been Materialise, the Launch Tabletop podcast. We're going to play the outro video, and then Matt, if you can just stick around, and we've got our world famous questionnaire for you, which is some 5 very important questions. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Kate and Matt, again for everything, and I will play the video. All right, we are back, and we're going to be doing the Materialise questionnaire with Matt, or should I say Matthew from Platypus Industries. All right, let's
Buckle up.
Go. Yeah, dive right in. So, Matt, question 1: are you more of a heart, a diamond, a club, or a spade?
Probably a club.
Do you
Gets
want to
things
give
done.
us a? Gets things done. Okay, just fair enough.
I can appreciate that.
Awesome. Question 2: dinosaurs who are pirates or robots who are ghosts?
Oh, tricky. We're big dinosaur people in my household.
Mm.
I think the robots and ghosts.
Okay.
Let that one go.
Fair enough. So is that what tipped you over? Is it just the love of
Yep.
sci-fi?
I'm just thinking an Asimov sort of thing going on with ghosts and robots would be awesome.
Awesome. Favorite snack or drink when playing a tabletop game?
Oh, anything that doesn't get on the cards. Usually something with lots of caffeine, because I just have to live on caffeine. So
I have a guilty confession to make, which is Alan, and maybe I should wait till Alan's on the episode next, but Alan mentioned that he used to say he likes peanut M&Ms. That's his snack of choice. And I bought some because of he reminded me of them, and I went and bought some after that episode, and they've been lovely. But I also got some of the crispy M&Ms. But then I don't know, I was watching some other random YouTube channel, and the person got some candy in the mail, and they had some they're American, and they had some Smarties come in, some Canadian Smarties. And it reminded me of Smarties, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to try them. So I got some Smarties, and well, I used to think for some reason in my head Smarties were the much, much worst version of M&Ms. Like they were just not worth the time of day. Like M&Ms was clearly superior. But I've kind of fallen in love with Smarties. They're different, and I'm just like, oh, I'm actually kind of enjoying so. And the other guilt.
And they're not horribly sweet.
Well,
yes.
I didn't bring in the box.
As we get older, we don't like
well, I can't necessarily. I'm very still a sweet tooth, but like I've been getting the little fun size packs that have like you just get little things,
like the little party ones you get your party
the
bag.
kid allotment.
Yeah, and I had gone through. I'd eaten about 10 packets of these things, and then I realized, and I don't have one. I should have brought one as a prop to show you. Then because I was just opening it up like a box. I don't have any good boxes here to show you, but I was just like peeling up the top flap and just whatever, like hacking my way into these products. Then I was like, on my 11th packet roughly, I realized that they've got a die cut perforated thing where it opens up, like the top hole just opens up as this lovely designed lid, and it blew my mind, the level of engineering into this little Smartie packet. I was just like, it's just amazing. Like, and it took me, Anyway, that's my.
And you're butchering the product. Yeah, thanks.
I butchered so many. And then what made it worse, though, was even after making that discovery, I then would forget about it, and I'd still rip them open the normal way. And then I'd be like, oh no, what have I done? They've got this beautiful engineering, and I'm not even taking advantage of it. Anyway, that's my crazy.
So no more box testing for Sai. Got it.
So, cards or dice?
Dice. Always dice. Though my latest title's not going to have dice, which is hurting me in my soul. I love dice.
I'm
so
okay
much.
with that.
So do all of do Drop Bears and Ratcatcher have dice in both of them, do they?
Oh, I love dice. I have so many dice in this house. It's a little bit of an addiction.
Did you also play
the new solo title will be diceless.
Okay. Were you also one of those people that played your kind of Warhammer style games with all the...
Yeah, I was a wargamer for many years. About 20 years I wargamed for.
Yeah, wow. I think that definitely shapes the attitude, isn't it? Like what you grow up kind of playing.
Yeah, definitely. Talking to different designers and you find these similarities in your game and you have a talk with them, like designer to designer, and you'll quickly find, especially if you like their games and you like their styles and things like that, you'll find a lot of similarities, I think, in your upbringing with not only cultural sort of things around certain timelines, but definitely games that you played. It shows your age quickly when you start talking names.
It does show your age quickly. Final question of the day, or the episode, is what fictional character would you invite to a game night?
So many good ones. So many good ones. I almost want like old myth characters. Could I have like the Aztec brothers that went to like death? They went into the underworld and rescued each other. Those two sound like good fun. They're tricksters and heroes.
I don't even think I know that story, but I'll have to look it up later.
I'm trying to remember the names. Look it up. The Maya twins. And where one of them dies and goes into the underworld, and the other one goes to get them. But they basically trick the god of death into letting him go. It's a very cool story.
Huh.
Yeah, we'll let you have two characters. That's okay.
Yeah, snuck in a 2 for 1 there. Matt, don't feel guilty. Kate, when she answered the question for the first time, said, "I'm not even picking anyone fictional. I want my friends to play with me." So she's acting like she's acting like she cares about the rules now, but back in the day, no. Well, thank you again for joining us, and thank you for answering those questions. And thank you everyone for joining in on the episode, and watching it. So farewell.
Thank you. See you.
Bye.
See ya.